So the last couple of years, corporations around the world actually have become interested in their impact on local labor markets. Traditionally, corporations have been concerned about when rates go up and how they're going to adjust their capital labor ratios so that they don't end up with an expensive labor bill. But more and more, we're finding that corporations are also interested in the extent to which they're paying a living wage. So about a year and a half ago, unbeknownst to me, the IKEA Corporation had adopted the living wage calculator to estimate what should be the minimum wage that their workers be paid in their facilities around the United States. And I actually learned about it through a telephone call from a journalist named Chrissy Clark from the Nightly Business Report. And I said, well, that's interesting. I said, I would have thought they might have called me. And so I ultimately ended up talking to them, and I have actually provided them now with data so that they can update their wage rates. And I asked them why they used it, and they said, well, you know, first off, we could see that it was durable. It had been there a long time. And then second, of course, it was at MIT. And I said, so it actually had a lot to do with MIT because they felt that it would be calculated correctly. My number one user of the calculator is the ordinary person. And it was designed for the ordinary person because what we were worried about were communities where people were not getting by on the minimum wage, and for them to be able to demonstrate what the cost of living really was. So I have regular, between 5 and 20 emails a week from somebody somewhere asking me about why the calculator produced the level that it did, or how they could possibly live on the amount of money that I indicate in the calculator, or also, often they indicate that they are negotiating with someone and they wanted to know whether the indicator was, of current data. And so that's the primary user. In addition to that, there are a lot of local governments that use it to set living wages. And local governments, state governments, governmental organizations are probably the most frequently, are the most likely organization to actually participate in a living wage program. And so you'll find, I'll get a call from somebody in San Diego and they're getting ready to go into a commission meeting and they want to know, well, what's the date? And so those are very common kinds of conversations. When we built the calculator in 2003, there were two other calculators. There was a calculator at the University of Washington in Seattle, and then there was the Economic Policy Institute's calculator. We didn't follow the University of Washington's model, and that was because their objective was to do something that was slightly different than what we were interested in. We used facets of the EPI design, but we actually built ours completely differently ultimately because they had certain characteristics that they were interested in, and we had different characteristics. It was also the case that we were much more interested in the spatial resolution than they were. We really wanted to know what was happening in particular locations. So originally we built it so that it could be displaying information at a place level, which was very geographically specific. But as the census has essentially unwound and become less likely to produce highly disaggregated data, we had to move back up to the county level. But now we display counties, states, and metropolitan areas.